Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's August 11th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and we finally got some movement today. We traded up, and we really got close to the all-time highs again. I don't think we quite got there. I'm trying to remember. I believe it was 33.79, so maybe we did get there. We were real close anyway. So I was thinking we were a little short. Maybe it's 33.80. Oh, you got me curious now. Maybe it was 33.79, so maybe we just did miss the. I think we tested the all-time high again, if I'm not mistaken. I could be off there. I'm not going to go look it up, but it was right in there, 33.79, I thought. So I think we may have tested it with the highs of the overnight. Couldn't get back up there during the day. Really, there's a downward bias to this. We were really trending down since a little before, between 5 and 6 a.m. my time, Central Standard Time. And we had a little two-legged correction here, and then we moved down again. And of course, anytime you see a two-legged correction, always measure your first move, your first leg, and that would give us a target here. But we continue to go even lower than that. So this was a really strong sell-off right here. I'm not sure if there was something that came out, or if once prices got through that. This was the close from yesterday. I drew my blue line over, but you can see it. And you can see today that the 315 times didn't really close in time as this one here. And prices didn't react to it at all today. Actually, when we pushed through there, we kind of pulled back. But I'm betting that's the downtrend there, or the trend line is prices are coming back to test there, not necessarily because we just really didn't even test that at all. But you can see multiple times we bounced off of the 3 p.m. close, which was always the time I was looking for. Again, there's not much difference there, but you can see where having the right time does give you a little edge here to maybe go long on these. So that was a great place to look to get long, possibly. Normally with this two-tiered channel working down, I'd tell you not to go long here, but you can see the shorter term trends in here, and we had the break, and when we couldn't get back below there and made those higher lows, it was worth at least trying to ride this back to the EMA, and instead you get to ride this thing all the way up. So pretty good opportunity there. But look, quite a few more trades today, quite a few more a bit more movement. But again, for the most part, this was a range day, because really from before 8 a.m. to after 2 p.m., we're trading inside the overnight highs and lows, and we're basically inside. Most of your highs were around 33.72 or 3 here. We had this failed breakout up here, and then the lows were 33.55 and a quarter or something like that. This line right, which was the close from yesterday. So at one time my thing was marking those. Let me see if I can put that back on there. I don't want to waste a lot of time on my video doing this, but there's some way to. Thought it was showing that, but maybe it doesn't show that anymore. Anyway, I'll look at that later. I'm not going to waste a bunch of time on a video trying to figure that out. Usually my lines will show those prices, and maybe it doesn't do that. I could have sworn I had it set to do that with Bjorn's program too, but that's no big deal. I just like to be able to see them printed over here, the yellow one and the other one. And I'm really leaning towards the 3 p.m. I'm going to leave them both on there because one day doesn't mean anything. Tomorrow it might be this line down here, and this one does nothing. So we'll just have to see. But you can see today the 3 o'clock was definitely the one that created it was the one the market was paying attention to. That's where, and there was a gap today. As you noticed, we closed here yesterday. We never traded up here. So during the overnight, we traded up here, and at 8:30, this is where we opened. So, but from that yellow line there, right there at 8:30 to down here, there's a gap on the daily chart, and we look for prices to fill that gap. And that also happened to be the 3:15 close time because 3 o'clock was down here. So really the gap, just filling the gap would be coming back and touching this, but generally it'll try to come all the way down to where the closes were at 3 o'clock or 3:15 or whatever. And it looks like 3 o'clock was the right one. So anyway, I hope that makes sense to you and hope that's helpful. But let's talk about the trades and wrap this up. Again, there's a two-tiered channel working down through here. You can see it's pretty accurate. The midline's holding, it's holding prices, but when it comes back here, it pushes through. It does come back and test it. We work a little higher and get the break, and then we come back down. And you can see once we kind of got back inside here, prices were reacting off of it again. So I believe it's accurate. It didn't really help you a whole lot, but it's there, and I believe it to be accurate. So let me make this a little bigger where we can see things, and we'll go through these trades real quickly, and we'll wrap today up. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Here we go. But prices were working down in this range when I came in, and we really confirmed it here off these first 3 swings. But then we come back here and we get a nice 2 second entry short. It's also a little break out of that resistance. I don't have my line on there, but there's resistance across there you can see. And it's a failed breakout, but it's also a second entry short. My signal bar is not very good. I went ahead and marked it green just so I would remember to talk about it. But I mean, if it was even 1 tick lower, I'd probably say, hey, you may want to take that trade. But it's not a great setup just because the signal bar is not real good. But it is off the key entry point. It is a failed breakout. There's a couple of different reasons to like it. But if you had a little better signal bar, you might definitely take that trade. And then we get another chance here again. Not a very good setup. And then finally we get a first entry. You get a second entry, but again, not a good signal bar, but you get this little trap on a lower high here. It breaks higher, turns down. Just go short either 1 tick below this bar, but I wouldn't have a problem going short, having it when it broke higher and started down. Just have your sell stop right there, and boom, off it goes. You actually get a failed second entry long right here, and again, it's off the EMA and the trend line. There's not a lot of room here, so you got to be cognizant of that fact. But if you've got enough room, or if you can get a little better entry with a limit order, which you could have gotten maybe a tick better entry there, tick or 2 maybe, than rather 1 tick, and that might have been giving you enough probably to get out. And if you could do that, then you could take that without worrying about it. Otherwise, it's a little bit aggressive because there's not a lot of room there. And you see it doesn't go much further either. Plus, you've already had your break and a new low in place. So the only reason we're trading this one is because it's a trap if it breaks lower right there. And it does break lower. But you'll get people trying to go long right here. And if you did, it worked. But don't be trying to go long down here. You know, you're really just trying to pick lows. Wait till you get a better setup. And then we bounce here. We had the break and new low, but we're still playing the bigger channel, and we should be working back to this trend line now. And this still has a little bit of a sideways, not real strong. So with this playing out, you may take this with this trap right here, but notice what happens. You try to go short once, you try to go short twice. So if it breaks higher, that's a failed second entry short. And I like entering there just to ride it back to the trend line. There's plenty of room there. But then it pulls back again and gives you a little double test of the EMA. And the only problem is by now, though, it looks a little congestive because now you got 1, 2, 3, 4 bars stacked up. So I don't think I would, if I didn't enter here, I doubt I'm going to enter on this green one, but there's a possibility because it is a failed second entry short and then a double test. as well. So, and where does it go? It goes right back to the trend line. Unfortunately, it's congested right there, and you don't get a real good setup. You get a lower high here, but again, not a very good setup. Finally, you get a failed second entry long right here, and you get a good bar, and look at it go. You kind of start working sideways here, get your close outside, and prices drop down here, and where do they bounce? Right off that close from yesterday. It's tempting to try to go long here, and it would have worked, but you need to wait on a higher low or some kind of trap or something. And then notice you make that new low, you try to go short once, and then you try to go short again. And this is actually a second entry long right here. So I like going long right there on the higher low on the second entry, and then you just make another higher low here, and that's a relatively bullish bar as well. This almost looks congestive, but with a little room back to the EMA and this just coming off the low, I wouldn't have a problem trying to get in that trade. This is close to being green. You could argue almost for that to be a little bit aggressive. But if it would have broke lower and then turned up, maybe you could leave it, you could say, hey, it's easily blue, but right now it's just kind of questionable. And we run straight up. We don't quite get here. So you got to be real careful going short yet. And we keep working higher. This is actually just a tad higher. And we just keep working higher. But notice we get our first break. And you've made that high. You try to go high once, twice. You got a little room back to the EMA and even back to this trend line. But this is the bigger trend. So we're really trying to play it. And you got enough room there. And you're hoping it's going to keep going and try to make a new low. It goes a little higher first, but this turns out to still be a good short. So the bias is still down. But then we come down here, and I don't think you want to go long here on a first entry because it could break higher and then turn down. But when it pushes back up here and gives you a second entry short that fails, going long there's probably not a bad, because you're going to trap some shorts right there, guaranteed. And it moves on up, and we get back to that not overnight high, but where that previous overhead resistance. And we tested a few times. I didn't mark this short. There is a double test here, and there is a break, but we didn't quite get a new high, and the trend and we're still in this channel. So it's a little risky here. You're better off probably wait on a lower high, and that doesn't come till way down here. But there is a little two-legged correction there. And this is a double top, so a first entry, second entry. So you could look at that as a trap, failed second entry long. There's a little bit of congestion, a failure out of congestion. It's a great signal bar. There's several reasons to like that trade. We're looking for prices to at least make a new low and maybe come all the way back down here and make another, the new low for this downward channel. We get an easy scalp, and that's it, and then it bounces. Then we're going sideways again. There was a second entry short right here and even a lower high right here. I didn't mark these because everything is still above the EMA. Technically, I probably should have marked this one. This one maybe not because it broke lower and then turned up. So it's kind of hard to know that we're going to turn back down again there. But there's nothing wrong with taking that first one. I meant to come back and look at this again, and I just kind of forgot about it. But notice there's a low there. And so you get a first entry, second entry. Technically, this is not a new low, so a new swing low. So really, this is not a second entry. It's really a first entry, second entry, third entry. But that's still two legs up after a break. And so you could treat that like a second entry. And you see it works like one. And then it comes back down, and we bounce that same support. Notice you made the low. You test it once. You test it twice. And again, this could be a first entry, second entry. But either way, we're bouncing. It looks like we're in a little trading range. And where does it go? Back to the top. then back down, but you don't really get another setup. This looks, I mean, this is a higher low here than this one. However, it's not a great setup because you've got congestion in there now, and there's not a lot. There's probably enough room to scalp out, but not a lot. So I think that one's too risky. And notice it just goes to the top and comes back. And you don't really get another chance until you get this failed breakout, and then you get a lower high. This actually breaks higher and turns down. You could go short one tick below that, but I like using, actually on this one, this is not engulfing, it didn't break higher. So you would enter one tick below that. And somebody sent me their thing trying to take a breakout pullback long here. Let me say this real quickly. There's two measured legs down there, yes. And so that's not really a breakout pullback long. If it's a breakout pullback long, it's going to bounce right here. And I think their trade did bounce right here. But don't trade breakout pullbacks. That's probably the least reliable pattern we trade because most all breakouts fail. When you do want to trade a breakout pullback is when we're trending, like coming down here and you get a little sideways action and then you get a breakout pullback that lets you come back in with the trend near the key entry point. That's where you want to take breakout pullbacks, not on failed breakouts of ranges. Yeah, sometimes they work, but 9 times out of 10 they're going to fail because almost all breakouts fail, even if only momentarily. And so the high probability is to fade the breakout or take the counter trend trade to the breakout. So if we break out of a little range like this to the long side, the trade is to go short and trade it back in. And you see it came out of there once, twice, and both times it just led to more sell-offs. So keep that in mind. Make sure you understand that. But you get the lower high here, then you come back. Unfortunately, you just get a little sideways congestion there, and it's just a first entry. So I think you got to skip that. You do get a lower high right here, but again, you just broke out of this. So I'd want to see at least a double test. And so then you do get the double test and a failed second entry long. Now you might go short because this is a range and we're probably going to the other side now. And that's what happens. This was the trade of the afternoon. This thing just the bottom falls out of it. So you get an easy runner there. Then you get a break, a new low, and then a first entry, second entry. And notice that we aren't anywhere near our measured move yet. And we're not back down to the lows yet. So I still like going short there. On that second entry, you get a lower high here, but that's too congestive. I'm not sure if it broke higher or lower here either. I can't remember. I was not actually watching this when this happened, so I'm not sure. But either way, it's a doji, and this ends up as a doji. So that's just 3 bars stacked up. At least 2 of them have no body really, or a real small body. And so that's congestion, and look what happens. It goes lower and fails and comes back, and then we test this high again, then it turns back down. So don't trade that stuff. That's why, because that's what happens to you. And then we actually go first entry, and then we get a second entry. But not only that, we get, how many times have we tested this? We made that high, we tested it once, twice, then we even come back again, and this breaks higher and turns down. That's a second entry short there. You could actually wait on this bar and go short one tick below it, or you could break, when it breaks higher and turns back down, you could go short on it. And notice this is just after 2 o'clock, but this is like 1 or 2 minutes after, so there wouldn't be any, that's close enough. After that, I wouldn't enter any more trades. There's another chance to enter here or here, really, but I don't think I would enter this one because we just came off the lows. But when you came back up here and got that little double test, of course, that's way after 2 o'clock, so you don't want to be entering there. But this one I'd be okay with. And also, let me clarify this. If you were managing this runner and this takes off, by all means, don't get out just because it's 2 o'clock if you're managing a runner. Just don't enter any new trades, because look what you could trade this all the way down to the bottom, back of the bottom of the range where it bounces and turns up again. I mean, not range, but the original channel. We came all the way back down and got in that channel, and we were kind of playing the channel with a little overshoot, and then we reversed. But you can see the midline you can see this channel come back into play. So that's what I saw today. A pretty good trading day. I got some more live trades that people have sent me, a couple of good ones, so I'll probably try to post them pretty quickly, either today or maybe tomorrow. I still hadn't got the new BP. I forget what it's called. Is it BP or PV? I always forget that. BPX Max. Okay, BPX Max. I'm going to post that. I'm going to do that as soon as I get this video uploaded. I'm going to update that for you, for all of y'all that might want to put this other time on here or have the option of putting either one of them on there. It's not critical that you have it now, because at this point I'm liking the 3 o'clock, which is what most of y'all should have, but you may want to play with it some and have the option as well. So I will get that out to you. But we finally had some movement today. Finally a little bit, quite a few trades here. So it was not a bad trading day. And I hope you had a good day. Hope you learned something today. But we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.